Today, I want to talk about the most important thing to focus on within your reselling business to make the most money and have the most time possible. Whether you are selling on Amazon or eBay, or maybe you're dabbling in live selling on Whatnot and First Class Treasures, this is the most important thing that you need to be focusing on to make more money in your reselling business. Most people think that the most important thing to be focusing on, especially eBay resellers who are focusing on used items, they focus on the eBay algorithm and they want to hack the eBay algorithm, game the system to get more eyeballs on their listings. And they do that through titles, through item descriptions, item specifics, through business policies, and through promotions. Now, don't get me wrong. Focusing on your titles and your descriptions and your business policies and your promotion rate is very important to the process of actually selling items, but it is not the most important thing to focus on. Mainly because this is something that you can learn in one day and make sure that you have all your systems set up and then continue the process. Every once in a while, eBay makes some small to moderate to major changes that may affect how you list your items, but that's very rare and it doesn't happen very often. And people are more psychologically focused on this eBay algorithm. Typically, these are the people that sell less and they think they are being punished by the algorithm, but they have it a little bit backwards. And we're going to talk about the most important thing today in the video. That most important thing to be focusing on in your eBay business is the actual items that you are selling, i.e. sourcing. So once again, while it's important to do all those other things, that stuff matters significantly less when you have good items that are in demand that people are looking for. So let's talk about the items that you need to look for, how often you should be looking for them, where to find them, and how to get better at finding those items. For some reason, this is the most problematic and dogmatic part of this reseller community. For some reason, I think it's very silly, but I want to talk about sell-through rate and how to calculate it. The way that I'm going to show you how to calculate sell-through rate is very simple, and it's going to be a governing principle for you to make your buying decisions when you are outsourcing. There's a lot of other resellers that want to do a much more complex equation to slow down their process. I don't know. Whatever. You can do what you would like to. If you don't like how I calculate sell-through rate, you can do it a different way, but this is the simplest way to calculate sell-through rate, and it's going to help you while you're sourcing to make quicker decisions. So I'll tell you how to calculate it, and then I'll show you a few examples. How you calculate sell-through rate is you open up your eBay app and you see how much an item is listed and how much it has sold in the last 90 days. So if you find an item that has 100 listed, and then you filter to sold, and there are 90 sold, that is a 100% sell-through rate. You want to focus on items that have a 100% sell-through rate or faster. These are the drivers of your engine that are going to make you significantly more money in your business. Let me show you how with a real life example here. So I have here a Canon Digital Ixus 60. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search on eBay the Canon Ixus Digital 160. Okay, so when I search that, I see that there are 116 listed. Then I filter to sold, and when I'm there, I see that 128 are sold. So this has over a 100% sell-through rate. So I'm going to take the number of items sold, which is 128, and divide that by how many are listed, which is 116, and then you move the decimal over 2 places, which makes this a 110% sell-through rate item. What that simply means is this is more than likely going to sell faster than 90 days. Now, if we look up this, for example, these are some Felix Gray's Jemison C5. Okay, so now we're going to look up Felix Gray Jemison C5. And we are going to see that there are 3 listed and there is only 1 sold. So now we're going to take 1 divided by 3, and that gives us 0.33333. You move that decimal over 2 and it's 33%. So this has a 33% sell-through rate, which means there's a good chance that this takes 3 90-day cycles or 270 days for this item to sell if I sell it correctly. Now, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but the varying condition and the price you select will change the sell-through rate on this. So this is a functioning Canon digital IXIS 60. The going rate for it is about $120. So if I list it for $120 with a good title and all of that stuff, it's going to sell on average quicker than 90 days. This will probably move in 2 months or sooner. But if I list this at $400, the sell-through rate goes below 1%. And if I list it at $40, it will sell immediately. Now, this doesn't happen for all items. If you have a Frank Sinatra CD that has a 2% sell-through rate and it typically sells for $8 shipped and you list yours for $6 shipped, that's going to increase the sell-through rate by a little bit, but because that item has so little demand, it's not going to improve it by much. But if you have an item that has a high sell-through rate and you mark it down, it's going to move much quicker. So now you understand how to calculate sell-through rate. If you have something that has 1,428 listed and only 377 sold, then you're going to do 377 divided by 1,428, and you get a 26% sell-through rate, which is very slow. Not very slow, but it's on the slower end. Now, you don't only have to pick up 100% sell-through rate items, but what I would focus on is having as close to a 100% sell-through rate item store as I can over a 90-day period. So now you can calculate the sell-through rate of your whole store. Let's say that you have sold 1,500 items in the last 90 days. Not a lot of sellers that I know do that. Let me be a little more realistic. Let's say that you sell 220 items every 90 days and you have 1,000 items listed. So you're going to do 220 divided by 1,000 and you have a 22% sell-through rate on a 90-day basis store. So what you can do is you can continue to list the same items, and eventually when you get to 2,000 items, you will be more than likely selling 440 items if you keep everything exactly the same. But what happens is people chase store size instead of sell-through rate. So they tell themselves, I have 1,000 listed, I want to get to 2,000 listed. So if I already had the items necessary to have a 2,000 item store, I would have already bought and listed them, but I haven't found them yet. So in the pursuit of 2,000 items, maybe I'm listing 10 per day. I'm going to start listing 20, 25, or 30 per day. And if I was already finding 30 good items per day, I would already be finding them and listing them. But currently I'm only listing 10. So I'm going to sacrifice the quality of my items just so I can get 30 of them. I'm going to continue to find the 10 that I normally do. And then I'm going to find 20 more items that have a lower sell-through rate just to get to 2,000 items. Then you get to 2,000 items because you are sourcing and listing 30 per day. And when you get there, you realize that your store sell-through rate has gone from 22% down to 10%. So instead of selling 440, instead of doubling your sales, you only increase your sales by 10 or 15% because you are filling your store with much lower sell-through rate items. So what I recommend doing is focusing on items that have a 50% sell-through rate or higher. Always trying to get your store sell-through rate to 100 if you can. I know many people that have above a 100% sell-through rate store. They have 40 listed and 85 sold in 90 days, 200 listed, 450 sold in 90 days. That's an incredible place to be. Difficult to get there, but you can do that over time if you focus on the most important thing in your business, which is sourcing and finding the correct item. So how you do this is I focus on 100% sell-through rate items, and then I am okay picking up 50% sell-through rate items. And every once in a while, I will pick up a 30 or 40% sell-through rate item, and I will list it. And as long as my store sell-through rate stays around 60, 70, 80%, I'm perfectly okay with that. Once it starts to dip down lower and lower and lower, I know that I need to focus on sourcing and sourcing better items. So I'm going to source less, but higher quality items. to get my store back up to a higher sell-through rate, so that way the economy of my business and the cash flow of my business is a lot better. So when you're out there, you're not going to find only 100% sell-through rate items. So you're going to need to list a few 50% sell-through rate items and things like that as well. Even these 33% sell-through rate items on occasion. But make sure that you're focusing on your sell-through rate as a store as a whole, and it's going to govern your decisions moving forward. Many of you guys are watching this and you guys are beginners and you don't know what these 100% sell-through rate items are for. So how are you going to find out? First rule, watch YouTube videos and Google things. It's going to help you understand what to look for. I started out by watching Harry Tornado, Commonwealth Picker, a ton of different of these YouTubers, and I would look at the items that they are sourcing, and then I would look for those items. And then I found Osborne to Thrift, who no longer makes YouTube videos, unfortunately. Miss that guy. He really changed my business because he was sourcing cameras and printer heads and keyboards and things that have ultra high sell-through rate and sell for high prices. And then I started looking for those items. I didn't know to be looking for the majority of these items, but I slowly learned through watching Osborne to Thrift and other resellers. And then more importantly, I took the time to look up my phone on all of these items in the stores. Again, a very problematic thing here in the reselling community. It's very silly to me. Some people think that you are dumb or stupid to look items up in the store. I still, to this day, I've been doing this for over 4 years. I still look up items, even items that I have sold in the past, I still look them up because sell-through rate and demand changes over time. Do not be afraid to go to the eyeglass section in your store, if you have one, and look through it and look at all of the different companies and model numbers. If you find Felix Grays, look them up. If you find Ray-Bans, look them up. If you find Vera Bradley, look it up. Coach, look it up. Warby Parker, look it up. Nine West, look it up. Foster Grant, look it up. You're going to find that a lot of these eyeglasses suck. Don't put Foster Grant into your store. But you're going to find out that Coach is awesome. Put Coach into your store. Continue to look up every single camera that you see. Look up every single item that you are interested in. And over time, you are going to learn more and more what items sell well, and then you're going to focus on those items. So watch other YouTubers for what they're looking for, and then continuously look up item after item after item. If you are new to this, or if you are pretty intermediate or advanced, I would still recommend sourcing. Let's say you source 10 hours a week. Spend the majority of those 10 hours just looking items up. Go into a thrift store for an hour and just look up everything in the store, everything that you see, everything that you think is worth looking up, just look it up. You're going to find that you look up 700 items and only 4 of them have a 100% sell-through rate, and then maybe only 2 more have a 50% sell-through rate or higher. Grab those 6 items and get out of there. Go to the next store, spend an hour. If you're at yard sales, look up on your phone. People don't care. For as much as people know you're just on Snapchat or Instagram at the yard sale, people don't care that you're looking up items on eBay and making a good business decision. Don't be afraid. I go into yard sales and thrift stores with GoPros strapped to my chest, and I'm constantly looking things up on my phone. And only one time has someone said, "Are you looking stuff up on eBay?" in a thrift store. One time. And I do this every single day. Do not be afraid to look things up, and don't be too prideful to look things up. All right, this video is already getting pretty long. So you want to look for items that have a 100% sell-through rate or faster. Focus on those, and then maintain a quality sell-through rate for your store. I recommend above 50%. So make sure that you're always calculating, oh, I have sold 800 in the last 90 days, but I have 5,000 listed. That's not great for the cash flow of my business or my mental health or the amount of hours I'm putting in to make that much money. So try to get your store, if you have 2,000 listed, try to get to 1,000 sales in a 90-day period, and then try to get to 1,200 and 1,500. And even if you grow your store a little bit, just make sure that you are staying above 50% sell-through rate. I promise you are going to have a much better time in this eBay reselling business. Now let's talk about where to find these items and how often you should be going. So first you need to understand, how big is your death pile? If you have a death pile, don't go sourcing. Again, it is the most important thing to do in your business, but it's the double-edged sword. If you are just addicted to buying and you're not listing much, or if you're buying 100 items per week and listing 10, stop that. Stop that right now. Take a week or two and just list as many items as you can. Then you want to get back into the swing of sourcing. And ideally, you are sourcing and listing and selling items every single day. I don't source on Sundays. It's just a personal thing that I do. It's a religious reason. It's also a work-life balance reason, and I want to have time with my actual family. So I don't go sourcing every single day of my life. But you do want to be sourcing as much as you can. If you only have 40 hours a week to work in your business, I would literally source for 30 and then list and ship for 10. That's how I would break it down. Now, where are you going to find these items? There are 3 basic pillars of sourcing that I want to talk about. The first one is in-person sourcing, and this is the traditional way of sourcing that everyone can do and what everyone focuses on, right? So these are thrift stores, yard sales, flea markets, and things like that. You want to have a good base of in-person sourcing. I have really good thrift stores in my area, so I go thrifting regularly, almost daily. And then I have good yard sales, so I go every weekend, I go to yard sales. I don't have really any flea markets in my whole state. It's just not a huge thing we do. We have some small like urban flea markets or whatever, but not like flea markets you see in Florida and stuff like that. But I focus on that in-person sourcing. You want to go to yard sales every single weekend, and you want to make sure that you are going to thrift stores very often and sourcing those items. The second place to source, which is underrated and more people should be doing, is online sourcing. This has been how I have been getting the majority of my items. So I source on eBay.com. I source lots of items. I buy them in lots. I list the best items individually from that lot. And then sometimes I will sell the rest of the items back to a lot on eBay. I don't recommend having a volume store, but fortunately, there are many of you out there who do. And so I'm able to buy 100 remotes for $200 and then list the 18 really good ones that will make me $600 or $700 in profit. And then the other 88 that I have left, I just resell back on eBay and I make a ton of money off of it. So you can do that with any item. Think of any item, just search remote control lot, save that, and then every time there are new remote listings, look them up, favorite the ones that you want to bid on, and bid on them before they expire. Another really good way of online sourcing is like highbid.com, govdeals.com. Again, this is lot-based. You can go buy lots of items and resell them individually on eBay. But the best way that I have been online sourcing lately is through live sales. I have my own website called firstclasstreasures.com. I'd appreciate you guys checking it out. It's the first link in the description. We have different sellers that are constantly going live. They get more items than they need at a dirt cheap price, and they would just rather move them quickly. So a lot of times you're able to find $40 items that you can buy on First Class Treasures for $5 or $7. Sometimes, depending on who's in the show, you can even get them for $2. And if you buy 17 items and you get that prorated shipping, sometimes you're getting things for $3 shipped that sell for $40. I do this on Whatnot all the time as well. I got this off of Whatnot. This is a 10 karat gold-filled watch from 1906 that I was able to buy on Whatnot for $26, and it's worth about $800. This is going into our safety deposit box, and it'll be a good time. Anyway, sourcing on Whatnot and First Class Treasures has been a game changer, and then also selling on First Class Treasures has been a game changer for me and others as well. So I really recommend checking that out. First link in the description. And now let's talk about the third pillar of sourcing. The third pillar of sourcing is making connections and suppliers, and this is through the first two options. So tell people what you're doing at thrift stores. I tell people what I'm doing at thrift stores all the time, and then they eventually say, hey, I'm not having a ton of success with selling watches, but I know you do really well with those. Do you want to come take a look at all my watches and buy them all at bulk prices? Yes, I would love to do that. Thank you very much for offering. When you're at yard sales, you can talk to people. A lot of people at yard sales are resellers that want to avoid taxes. I'm not recommending this, but a lot of resellers, again, they have a huge supply of an item that you want. They're able to get it for super cheap. Their cost of goods is 10 cents, and they're perfectly okay unloading it to you for $2 or $5 a piece, and then you're able to resell it for $25 to $70 plus shipping on eBay. It's awesome. So you want to make these connections. The flea market is usually the best place to do this because it's those resellers. Not all of them want to avoid taxes, but a good majority of them do. And so they're willing to just set up those partnerships so that way they can buy a storage unit for $80, make $800 off the storage unit, and be on their happy way, and they get to clear out all that inventory to you. Another way you can do this is when I buy all of these items off of eBay and Mercari and these other online locations, you can tell which people are getting these items regularly, and then you can talk to them and get a supplier network from them, which is really awesome. So if you are constantly looking at these similar items, you can just say, hey, do you have a huge supply of this? I'd love to be able to work out a deal with you. And then you can just become a supply. You can get supply from them on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis, depending on how much capital you have. Another really great way to do this is by going to places and contacting and socializing and opening your mouth. I do this with casinos. I go to casinos and I choke my way up the corporate ladder to a decision maker. And then I ask to buy out their lost and found. I get many sunglasses, watches, and AirPods through this. I also go to optometry stores and I ask, can I buy your used eyeglasses that your customers are giving you to get their new glasses? And I'm able to network with this. Making these connections and networks is what's going to take your business to the next level. And even when you have these connections like I do, I still would recommend having your foot in all three of the doors of these pillars. So I still go thrifting and I go to yard sales. I still am sourcing on First Class Treasures, Whatnot, and eBay. And I have these connections where I'm able to get eyeglasses, remote controls, and these other items that I like to sell. Focus on in-person, online, and connection sourcing. Focus on items that have a high demand and fast sell-through rate, and improve that sell-through rate over time. And keep sharpening your axe by watching YouTube videos, what sold videos, these are the best items to sell videos, and constantly, and I mean constantly, continue to look items up on your phone. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. One story that I talk about often is in 2022, I was selling a ton of Google Nest Wi-Fi extenders for $40 plus shipping, and they had an 800% sell-through rate. 1 year later, those came down to $20 plus shipping on a 50% sell-through rate. So if they were $3 or under, I continued to grab them and sell them. 6 months after that, they had a 25% sell-through rate and sold for $16 shipped. So usually $8 or $9 plus shipping. I stopped buying that item completely. But if I was too prideful to be like, oh, I know what sells, I know what things are worth, I've sold this before, so I'm just gonna buy it blindly. If I bought 50 of those at $5 each, I lost over $2,000 in that scenario. So I continue to keep looking items up over and over and over again. A lot of people here on the internet make fun of me for that. It's whatever. Don't let them get to you. Just continue to look items up and you'll make more money. So I appreciate you guys watching the video. I would love it if you would check out firstclasstreasures.com. I'd love to see you guys there. It's a great place to source, and it's also a great place to sell if you have that inventory. Appreciate it, guys.